Imagine what it would be like to be without a place to call home. Or think about having to wash your clothes by hand because you can't afford to use a laundromat. Or if every day meant worrying about where your next meal would come from. People in our community wrestle with these and other challenges every day. Building a community of hope is one way we all come together to support them. Hi there, I'm Kathy Donovan. Welcome and thank you for being part of our second annual fundraiser and silent auction. As we move closer to a post-pandemic world, the number of people accessing our services continues to rise. The need to build a community of hope has never been more urgent. You're about to take a virtual tour of our community ministries. You'll learn about the work of 7 local agencies that care for vulnerable people. You'll see the good work of these agencies, meet their staff, participants, and volunteers, and hear their stories. Joining us will be Bishop Shane Parker, Mayor Jim Watson, Councillor Catherine McKenney, Bruce Nicol, President of the Wesley M. Nicol Foundation, and other local leaders to celebrate our community ministries and the hope they bring to people's lives. You can help. Please be generous with a monthly or one-time donation to our partner agency, Today for Tomorrow. Your support will make all the difference. For example, your gift of $175 will provide a month of home-cooked meals for a resident in a women's shelter. $500 will help an entire family receive counseling support. That means real positive impact in the lives of people experiencing poverty and mental health problems. Thank you for your support in helping to build a community of hope.
Hi, I'm Jim Watson, Mayor of the City of Ottawa, and it's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the annual Building a Community of Hope virtual event hosted by the Anglican Diocese of Ottawa. Remarkably, last year this event raised $79,000, and this marks a special year for the Diocese of Ottawa as they celebrate their 125th anniversary. Fittingly, the Diocese of Ottawa committed to building 125 new affordable housing units in celebration of this milestone 125th anniversary. And I'm pleased to say that they have made great strides in reaching their 125 unit goal. I'm so pleased to recognize the partnerships, people, and organizations that are making this major project possible. As we know, supportive housing helps people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness to access and maintain stable, affordable housing. Community-led initiatives like these have a transformative impact on the lives of so many in our city. On behalf of the City of Ottawa and my council colleagues on City Council, I'd like to thank and congratulate everyone at the Diocese of Ottawa for your dedication to our community and for celebrating your 125th anniversary. Keep up the great, amazing work. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
My name's Rachel Robinson. I'm the Executive Director of the Ottawa Anglican Day Programmes. St Luke's Table is in Chinatown, The Well is in Centretown, and Centre 454 is on King Edward downtown. As well as basic needs, we also help people access mental and physical health supports and also navigate the social assistance system. St Luke's Table is in the neighbourhood with the highest concentration of rooming houses in the city. So people are living in rooming houses, but they come into the day programme to access supports. Sadly, we're also seeing more and more people who are sleeping rough, who are unsheltered. During the pandemic, many people were scared to access the shelter system, and this has led to more people sleeping outside. So those people are also coming to St Luke's Table to access our programme. The Well is in Centretown, and pre-COVID, it was a programme for women and women with children. As a response to the pandemic, we've actually opened it up so that all people can access laundry and the showers and the washrooms. Centre 454 is downtown. Pre-COVID, probably about 50% of the people that came into the programme were housed in rooming houses in the neighbourhood. Since the pandemic, we've seen more and more people who are sleeping outside, who are unsheltered, using the programme. St Luke's Table, The Well and Centre 454 provide basic needs, moments of joy in people's days, and most importantly, hope.
Hi, my name is Bob Nesbitt. I come to Centre 454 for coffee, for snacks, and for help from the counsellors if I have a problem with my payments when I was on social assistance. I also come once in a while if I have a problem with my living situation, and just for general counselling if I'm going through some kind of personal crisis. The counsellors are very good here, and they have a wide range of experience, so they help us out on a lot of different things, and they've seen it all and done it all twice, so they know how to help the poor.
Hi, my name's Joseph. I'm here at Centre 454 using the soup kitchen services for the first time. Just grabbing a glass of water and a wrap.
My name is Donna. I've been coming to the well since 3 weeks ago. I find that the meals are good and the comfort and the staff are wonderful. I've been making new friends. It's good to get out of the house. I save lots of money, and it's just awesome. It's the best place to come here.
Taking time out of her day to join us is Councillor for Somerset Ward, Catherine McKenney. Catherine, you're very involved in the community ministries, and I wonder if you could share with us what's so compelling about the work that's being done.
Well, I'll tell you one of the most compelling things I find about the ministry is, and the organizations in this ward, Cornerstone, The Well, St. Luke's, is the people that are served through them. The resilience of the people that are served through the ministry. I'm fortunate enough that, I represent a small enough ward that I get around enough. I see people out on the street, and anytime we have any type of event, there are always people who are there who you see at St. Luke's, at The Well, but also the staff, the people who work there. Really, they fill a need in this community. community that we failed on, really, that became even more evident during the pandemic, where again we saw that there were so many people who had food insecurity, that were precariously housed, that really had nowhere to go. So, when I think about the people that are served, when I think about the staff and the people who work at the ministries, really, they create a community that I don't think can be created outside of that context. When you are providing people with supports in their housing, with permanent housing, when you're providing people with food security, when you're providing them with, the programming that they need in their daily lives, to be part of the community, to bring us into that, I don't think that could happen outside of the context of the ministries and the way that they do their jobs.
Catherine, what have you observed during the pandemic about these community ministries and their response to serving so many people who are at risk?
The response by the community ministries was immediate, and the need, I might add, became immediate. As soon as the pandemic happened, we were all frightened. We didn't know what was happening, and we all went home. And we closed our doors and we kept ourselves safe. For many people, that wasn't an option. And so we left people outside, essentially. We left people in precarious housing. We left people unhoused. And so the gaps almost immediately, were so apparent. I think we always have known the work that the ministries do, that the Well and St. Luke's do, but to see it happen on the ground during a pandemic, to see those frontline services, to see people and those agencies respond to food insecurity, to see them respond to people who had nowhere to go all day long. So the future for the ministries really is, on the one hand, Cornerstone is leading the way in supportive housing and showing that anyone can be housed. We often think that people who've been outside for a long time or in shelter for a long time are unable to be housed, but they can. Anybody can be housed with the right supports around them, and Cornerstone has shown that. For the ministries that provide our day programs, like the Well, like St. Luke's, the future there really is to keep those supports in place for people, to make sure again that where we're falling down, they're filling that gap. But I think that, for the future, in a post-pandemic world, we have to look at much more permanent solutions for people who are marginalized, people who are living in poverty, people with mental illness. When I think about a post-pandemic world, and I think about the ministry, and I think about the work that's already been started through the ministry, I see it becoming all the more important that it becomes permanent work, that we work together, that we find a way to house people, to house them permanently, and to ensure that people have their own food to eat and have their own place to go. And quite frankly, I would see a role for St. Luke's, the Well, as a place for people just to come together, because I think in the end that's what they serve. I think I visit, or I know a lot of people that go into St. Luke's, and that's what they're looking for, right? That's what I'm looking for during the day when I walk around, and I think that's what we need. We need to make sure that there's that social space for people, that people are not isolated, but to make it a more permanent space and more inclusive, and maybe a place where we all will gather rather than just certain people who might need the services on an emergency basis. If it's there in a permanent way, if it's there as part of our community, I think the best thing we can do is all make sure that we live together and we visit each other.
Hi, I'm Sarah Davis, the Executive Director of Cornerstone Housing for Women. Cornerstone Housing for Women supports vulnerable women where they're at in life, offering hope, healing, and housing. 38 years ago, Cornerstone Housing for Women began with 3 cots in the basement of a church. Today, we serve over 230 women each and every night in our 4 supportive housing communities, our emergency shelter, and our outreach program. We are the largest women's-only housing provider here in Ottawa. Women often experience what home is like for the very first time. Each of our housing residences offers something unique to meet the diverse needs of vulnerable women in Ottawa. Our Booth Street location includes our Aging at Home program, providing permanent housing with wraparound healthcare, mental health, and meal supports. Our Princeton residence offers Indigenous and cultural services, as 40% of our population here are Indigenous. Our McLaren House provides more independent living supports that are uniquely tailored to each woman that help them find work, housing, and social supports. Cornerstone does this with dignity and care. Every year, 1,000 women become homeless here in Ottawa. The need for women-specific housing continues to grow. In the last year, Cornerstone Housing for Women doubled its capacity, from serving 61 women to 125 women in our emergency shelter program in merely 4 months. We saw an increase of women struggling with their mental health, illnesses, and isolation through all of our housing communities. We are the cornerstone of hope for all the women in Ottawa.
I'm Monica Patton, the Chair of the Community Ministries Committee of the Anglican Diocese of Ottawa.
And I'm Shane Parker, the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Ottawa.
I've been giving a lot of thought to the context in which we are doing our community ministries work, especially in the post-pandemic time and with so many other issues that I'm sure we'll talk about in our conversation. Seems to me that there are 2 features that we want to pay a lot of attention to. And they have to do with how we're going to work in the future, how we're going to offer our programs and offer our ministries and be part of community. The first is that I think it's all about collaboration. And it's not just collaboration with the people we know, it's perhaps collaboration with people we don't know. So it's reaching out and finding out who else is in the area that we work in, both geographically and in the type of work that we do, and forming partnerships to get our work done. And the second point that I want to make is that it's also, I think, all about inclusion, that we have tended to say, you know, we are very inclusive and we give lots of good service to that, but in fact there's lots more that we can do. It's not just about who we serve in our ministries, it's not just about who we engage as volunteers or staff. It's about inviting the ideas of people who are not like us, to including those ideas, having them sit around our management board tables, and we do that in community ministries. So for me, in the pluralistic society in which we find ourselves, it's about collaboration in a very radically inclusive kind of way. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense to me. Something that I've learned in my years of being in an interfaith dialogue of sorts, in a plural context, as you say, is that we understand that we are fundamentally in communion with one another, which is something we would say from the Christian tradition, that if God is creator of all things, then we are inextricably in relationship, in communion with one another. And to minister in that context begins with an acceptance of the fact that we do not necessarily have the same theological beliefs, but we do share a huge middle ground, which is about serving the common good. It's about benefiting civil society and walking with those who do not experience life in the same way that people who are enfranchised experience life, living with those who are precarious. And so what you say, Monica, is very important. As we proceed with our community ministries, I believe we are fundamentally open to and recognize the need to be in partnerships, to be in communion with other people who are like-minded, which would represent the majority of the plural population, but also to be clearly in partnership with people who are addressing the kinds of social issues that we face, and who seek to have everyone participate in that. You know, we don't have clients, we don't have people, you know, we have people in our community that we walk with who participate in our community ministries. When you speak of inviting people, Monica, I'm mindful of a theological principle, you might say, and how I believe the capacity to love, to care for others, to reach out, to want to be connected, to want to be in relationship is something that corresponds to our fundamental nature as human beings. And as we would say, to be created in the image of God means to be created from love, for love. And most people, I believe, find their truest nature when they're engaged in some act of reaching out, some act of altruism, some act of kindness even. And those who have difficulty grasping that could have been from life experiences or circumstances where that's been subverted, or their hearts are hardened and so on, such that when we invite people, we're actually awakening the divine spark within them almost, you know. And again, as I was saying, my experience of working in an interfaith context is that most people, whether they declare a faith or not, are drawn to community, are drawn to working in partnership with others who serve the common good, who care for one another. And that makes life interesting. It makes the asking and inviting of people kind of compelling, actually. It's almost exciting.
You know, I absolutely agree with you. It does make me think a little bit about what's happened during the pandemic, though, because we know that there has been a lot of hurt and fear and people being left out. And we can talk about those things because they're very real and we need to address them. But we have actually also seen people reaching out and helping and answering that. They might not call it a call, but you and I would call it a call, answering the call to care for their neighbors, to care for each other. And it makes me realize, and I have to remind myself of this quite often, not all of the involvement that we have is formal. Some of it is informal. Some of it we don't talk about. Some of it we just do. We just ring our neighbor's doorbell, or we join in some project that our community has or our city has. So the pandemic has encouraged us, along with all the other downsides of the pandemic, but it has encouraged us to examine what we can offer and to examine how we invite people to offer, because we've done that in the context of fear, in the context of having to stay away from each other. And yet we've seen extraordinary generosity.
Yes, the pandemic I like to think of as a teacher and a revealer. You know, it has taught us many things and it has revealed things. When people are compelled to stay at home because of a pandemic and they don't have a home, what does that mean? Yes. When you have to stay at home and you are connecting through the internet and you do not have internet access or even a telephone. So it's really heightened a lot of the disparities in our community. And I know our community ministries in almost every instance has changed from being a place where people gather to actually going out into the community to respond, including the Ottawa Pastoral Centre, which shifted its focus to work online, essentially. And I think, you know, there has been a lot of attention brought to bear on the disparities, and there has been a surge almost in support for those who we know are really suffering in the pandemic. But we also know that people live precariously outside pandemics. And while there's been this sort of surge of altruism in a sense, and in some cases a surge in actual financial support from levels of government to meet the need, as we look to the future, my hope is that we will sustain what we've been able to achieve in a renewed way in the pandemic, but also to build, also to grow in terms of our connectedness with other partners in the community, and certainly connecting with those who live precariously, who will participate in our work as well.
So when we talk about sustaining an organization, of course I think about the financial resources, and we're so blessed with the resources that we have been given, the generosity, but we have wonderful resources in our people. And without people, without us investing in people, we won't have sustainable organizations. We won't be able to serve the community with the community in the way that we want to.
And that's the joy and hope, isn't it? That we are people of hope, and we are united in hope to build a community of hope. And that corresponds very much to the way Creator has made us to live in this world, to be fully human.
Hi there, my name is Taylor Seguin, and I'm the program coordinator here at Centre 105 Drop-In Day Program in Cornwall, Ontario. So we operate our drop-in out of Trinity Anglican Church right in downtown Cornwall, and we're an agency that's open 3 mornings a week, so every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. At Centre 105, we offer a lot of things to our participants. So along with a safe space to hang out and a great breakfast 3 mornings a week, we also offer some laundry services, which you can sign up for in advance. We also offer pastoral counseling, as well as referrals to other agencies. We also have a lot of strong support from the community, which we're absolutely thrilled about, and that support just continued to grow through the COVID-19 pandemic. And one story I always like to tell people is a little restaurant called the Village Diner. So the Village Diner is a breakfast place in Cornwall who reached out to me at the beginning of the pandemic, and they asked, how can we help? What can we do? We want to help your program. And so they've decided to donate 25 loaves of bread to us every week, which has been tremendous, and they've been doing that for almost 2 years now. And they also did a cereal drive for us a little while ago, where they collected almost 700 boxes of cereal that we can give out for our breakfast program. So they've been an amazing support for us among all sorts of individuals as well. Some other changes that have happened because of the COVID-19 pandemic are all sorts of added expenses like styrofoam food containers and plastic utensils. Because we now have to offer our meal as a takeout meal, there are all sorts of other costs associated with putting these meals together. Not to mention the growing number of participants we have. So we're seeing about 100 participants a day now, and we're open 3 days a week, so that's about 300 meals a week. So around 1,000 or 1,200 a month. And this is very new to us, very new territory, to be hitting triple digits every day. So we're also seeing our food cost go through the roof as well as we continue to serve more and more people. So along with our staff team of 5, we also have an amazing volunteer team here at Centre 105, and we love our volunteers, and we're so thankful for everything they do for us. And I of course have to give a shout out to my mom, who's a great volunteer here at Centre 105, who helps us out every Friday. We also accept field placement students here at Centre 105 from the local college, St. Lawrence College Cornwall campus, and placement students have been so incredibly helpful for us because they come in with all sorts of great new ideas, having just finished the social service worker program. So we're excited to once again welcome a student this upcoming fall. And as we move forward and continue to see more participants, we ask that you continue to support our agency through these challenging times.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Collins. I moved into Cornwall last September. I come to the 105 Breakfast Club. Here, we meet people, we become friends, we're like a family. There's no judgment, there's no fighting or that. It's just, we're team. They have puzzles, games, and it's like a team, and we all get along good. We have great breakfasts, very good breakfasts. The people that work here are friendly, kind. If we need help with anything, they're there to help us. Today they have boxes of socks for us, and we help ourselves. They give us corn, they give us canned foods. They do their best to try that make us feel like we're not begging, that we're not dirt. We're people, we're human beings, and they treat us this way. And this is the way we should feel and have pride in ourselves. And I really feel comfortable, and I love coming here. I love visiting with the people. I like the games. I just like the communication, the beautiful meal, and I feel that I'm not a mud rat, that I'm better than that. And that's really nice to know that this is in our community, and it's there for anybody and everybody, and everybody is welcome.
My name's Bruce Nicol, and I'm the president of the Wesley M. Nicol Charitable Foundation, and until recently I was president of Tartan Homes Corporation. I'm delighted again to be involved with the annual event supporting the Community Ministries of Ottawa and the Building a Community of Hope. My late father, Wesley Nicol, started the foundation quite a while ago, and he ran it himself until he was coming, towards the end of his life, and I sat with him and we talked about how it would be run in the future. And he was a successful guy. He did really well. He was generous to his community, generous to his family, and he said to me that one of the things he really wanted to support were, as in his words at the time, the disadvantaged of Ottawa. This is where he wanted to support. So I've taken that to heart, and I now have the privilege and responsibility of running the foundation. So our foundation are great supporters of the community ministries. We've done the homework. We know they're delivering the best care to the disadvantaged in our community. So for those of you who are wondering where to donate, does your money really do the kind of work that our community needs? You can take it from me. The community ministries delivers. So I invite you, again this year, let's double your contribution. Any contribution you make to the community ministries, our foundation will match dollar for dollar. Let's really get behind this, and together we can build a community of hope.
Hello, I'm Sharon York, the Executive Director of the Ottawa Pastoral Counseling Centre. The Ottawa Pastoral Counseling Centre, or the OPC, has been offering counseling and psychotherapy services to the diocese and the larger community for over 50 years. When people hear the name OPC, they think of services that are accessible, affordable, full of compassion. There are 5 therapists that work from the OPC, delivering services to people from many different areas of the city: suburban, urban, rural areas. People come individually, they come as couples, they come as families. We work with teens and we work with children. Sometimes people ask me, so who comes to the OPC? What are they looking for? What happens in therapy? I love that question, because then I'm able to say to them, well, you come or I come. People come to the OPC. There's not a group that needs psychotherapy. There are people who are seeking out counseling support to resolve issues in their lives. We might have someone that's coming from a farm community, a senior, a single mother, someone who's just become a new Canadian. People come to the OPC. They come for the counseling support, the compassion that we can offer them through a therapeutic process. So what would bring people in for psychotherapy? A variety of human issues: grief, loss, family crisis, addiction, marital problems. Sometimes people are coming in because they've lost a job, or they're experiencing stress, or they've moved to the city and they don't know what resources are here. They're looking for housing, they're looking for support. The OPC also works with individuals who are struggling with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, trauma. So when people come in for psychotherapy, we are working with them to find answers, to find insight, new knowledge, skill practice, different ways of being in the world that brings down their feelings of anxiety or worry. In many ways, it's helping someone to live with the life they have with less dis-ease, with less anxiety, with more hope. Around 7 years ago, the OPC had a dream. The dream was to create a trust fund. We called it the Ottawa Pastoral Counseling Centre Counseling Support Fund. The goal of this fund was to allow other people to donate resources, financial resources, for counseling for those in our community who could not afford to access counseling services. I don't know if I can describe for you how important it is and what joy it brings me when someone actually phones, and I know they've called 3 or 4 other places, and they're telling me about what's happening in their family or that their son is in trouble. And then they say, but I don't have any money, or I have very little resources, but I really need the help. And I'm able to say, because of the Counseling Support Fund, it's okay, we've got this. In the last 18 months, through the pandemic, we have used that fund over and over and over again. The amount of people accessing our services because of the pandemic has quadrupled. The people asking for counseling support and needing financial resources has also doubled. In March 2020, the OPC faced a crisis of unbelievable proportions. We had people phoning, we had people knocking on our doors, asking, please, can you help me navigate what's going on? And in the midst of this pandemic, we changed. We went from an agency that was 95% face-to-face counseling to 100% virtual. Telephone consultations and counseling and video conferencing. I have to be honest, at the time I wasn't sure how it would work. How am I going to move from sitting in a room close and intimate with somebody, hearing their story, supporting them, to working with them in front of a computer screen? And yet, I'll tell you, it does work. I remember working with somebody who was talking about a death in their family, and in the midst of our session, she reached out and she touched her screen. And I realized that she was actually touching my face through the screen. And I thought, wow, I guess compassion, support, love passes right through a computer screen. There's an interesting byproduct of this visual and this computer-based psychotherapy is suddenly we're reaching so many more people. People living up in Renfrew or Deep River or in Shawville, they're not driving in to see us at the OPC. They're turning on their computers. They're saying, hi Sharon, I'm here for my appointment. This is what's going on in my life. And when they do that, I have the opportunity, the honor of working with that person to help them find solutions, new ways of being, coping, and not being alone. In the last 18 months, there's been a lot of changes for us. But I think the most important change has been the way in which we've supported others, the way in which we've grown, adapted, and will continue to adapt to offer services in a way that meet people where they are. Sometimes people ask me, do you have a little learning piece or some statement that you can tell me about how you feel about the pandemic and where we are and where we're going? And what I say is we're going forward. And I think what we've all learned through this experience is how important it is that we care for each other, how important it is that we connect, that we're part of a community that reaches out and serves and is changed by that service.
Hi, my name is Nadia. I'm originally from Yemen. I have been here almost 20 years now. I sponsored my family from overseas, from Yemen. It took me 4 years actually to find someone who can help me to sponsor, and I literally lost hope until I found the Refugee now under Diocese. So they were able to help me sponsor my family, and the process only took a year and a half to sponsor them. It was very quick and very smooth. So it's been almost 8 months since my family arrived to, into Canada in Ottawa, and they're very happy that they are, settling into a new country They call it, this is their, own country, their home country, and it's a new hope that Canada has given them, and they are settling very well. My brother-in-law has secured a job. My niece, she's in school. My sister also, she's learning the English as a second language. So the entire, the family are doing quite well, and they're adapting the cultures, very smoothly and quickly. And all the credits, first and foremost, I will thank to God and the diocese who helped us and helped me to sponsor my family.
Let's take a look at what goes on behind the scenes here. Today we're going to be talking with Peter John Hobbs, who is the Director General of Community Ministries. What do you love about the work you do?
That's such a great question. I think the first thing that I would say is that it resonates very deeply with my understanding of what we're called to do as Christians. I mean, these are community ministries of the Anglican Diocese of Ottawa, and as a young man, when I was pursuing ordination, there was a real link for me between the importance of the neighborhood church, but also of the Christian church to be rooted in compassion and to be addressing the needs of those who are most vulnerable in our community, and to be striving for social justice for those people. And for me, in my current job as Director General of Community Ministries, I've been able to really live into that reality. I think one of the other things I really love about it is that it breaks down a lot of barriers. The community ministries, we serve people regardless of their background. We serve a diverse amount of people, and we partner with many others. All people regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of their faith, their culture, their race. We serve all people, but we also work with a great spectrum of partnerships across the city in one way or another to try and alleviate the suffering that's going on in our city. And I think that indicates for me, or surfaces for me, the importance of compassion as being one of those deep, abiding human values that when we connect on compassion, we can begin to work together to really address the needs of humanity.
Peter John, what are some of the issues and requirements, maybe new requirements, that have popped up during the pandemic pause?
Well, I think one of the things that the pandemic has done is it's brought into sharper focus the needs of those who are struggling around issues of poverty, homelessness, and issues around addiction and mental health. And it's brought it more sharply into focus so that the needs are more apparent to those who are taking a closer look. But I think the problem's gotten worse. So on one hand, it has heightened our awareness of the problems that people are facing who are most vulnerable in our communities. But at the same time, it has exacerbated those problems. So I think that's the first thing I would say about what the pandemic has played within the community which we're called to serve within the community ministries. At the same time, I think one of the things that has happened is that we've seen how we can work together across various agencies, across sectors to try and address those needs. You know, we've expanded hours. The Ottawa Pastoral Counseling Centre has gone completely virtual. Our day programs have been able to expand their hours. We're doing more street outreach. So on one hand, I think that it's shown the adaptability of the community ministries to address needs in the face of a crisis. I think what is more concerning is that while we see that the problem is growing worse, I'm not yet confident that we have come together as a community and understood that we need to sustain the support that we've been able to provide through the pandemic and in fact increase that support.
What message would you have for people who are watching this and want to participate in the fundraiser?
Well, the first thing I would say is that making a contribution to the community ministries of Ottawa makes a difference in people's lives. And that difference can be everything from ensuring that someone has a meal today, to helping someone relocate to Canada because they are living in peril, having to flee from the land of their birth, and they need to land in Canada as new Canadians but come as refugees. And so I think the community ministries, if you consider the scope of what we do, from our day programs in Ottawa, Centre 454, the Well, St. Luke's Table, and now Centre 105 in Cornwall, the Ottawa Pastoral Counseling Centre, Cornerstone Housing for Women, and our refugee ministry. All of those combined means that your contribution is going to have a great spread across great needs within our community.
Peter John, it sounds like you're doing exactly what you're meant to do, and it's so wonderful to share these important messages with others.
It sure is, and I'm very grateful for the work that I do, but I'm also very grateful for all of the others that make it happen. We have incredible staff in all of our community ministries, remarkable volunteers, great partners, and the people who make financial contributions to the community ministries. I'm just so very grateful, because without their contributions, we simply are unable to do the work that we do. So it's very important that we continue to tell our story, but more importantly, I think to be in relationship together in community. So I'm thankful, and I'm very grateful for all those who help the community ministry